Alrighty. Well, our next article has the humorously self-descriptive title, Gluten-Free Water Shows Absurdity of Trend in Labeling What's Absent. It was penned by Brandon McFadden. He's a professor of food and resource economics at the University of Florida, and the piece appeared in Wednesday's issue of the Quality Digest newsletter. And absurdity, I think, is the right term, because in this article, McFadden uses the example of a company selling so-called premium water. Their premium water is organic, it's kosher, and it's free of GMOs, as well as the aforementioned gluten. Now, of course, anyone with any critical thinking skills at all would quickly realize that all water is free of gluten and GMOs, and that designating it as organic and or kosher does absolutely nothing to alter said water in any way. Yet, this company, I won't mention it, he does mention it in his article, this company is allowed by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to label their water as such, and I guess customers are free to pay an extra $1 or $2 a liter for the meaningless assurance that such labeling offers. I mean, heck, it's better than drinking free tap water after all, right? Which is just so hoi polloi. All kidding aside, McFadden is onto something here, and it's an issue that has, I think, real repercussions for customers who are trying to pick their way through the various descriptions that food manufacturers use on their labels. And you know, some of this language, quite frankly, is meaningful. It is. For example, the term organic is strictly regulated, and whether or not you actually believe that organic food is healthier, you can rest assured that something that's labeled as organic actually is, and that that label means something tangible about the way that such food is grown, raised, cultured, and brought to your table. Unless it's water, of course. Be that as it may. On the other hand, the word natural means essentially nothing. I mean, there's no standard, no regulation governing it. Anyone can sell anything natural, quote unquote, and sell it to the public. So natural doesn't really mean anything. Now, McFadden is a food scientist, but think about what all this means for consumers who aren't professionals in the field. Although there really isn't much risk of anyone getting sick by these label games. I mean, after all food is closely monitored by the FDA to make sure that it's safe as possible, regardless of what the label says. So the FDA is protecting your food supply, whether it's labeled as organic or natural or whatever the heck it is. Now, this kind of thing can certainly cause worried people to shell out more money for food that they think is better in some way. I mean, genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, are another example. Food scientists like McFadden will tell you that there's really no difference between GMO and non-GMO foods, yet many argue that GMOs are dangerous in some way. Thus, as McFadden mentions, there's a new labeling law going into effect late next year that's going to mandate that certain foods containing GMOs must be identified on their label. Now, what is that going to do to the sale of those foods? Well, I mean, one would think that they would probably decline, right? I mean, people are going to see GMO on the label. They're going to say, oh my God, that's frankenfood. It's bad. It's not as healthy as non-GMO food. So perhaps their sales are going to decline, and perhaps the price of such foods will then go down as well. And those of us who understand the inherently safe nature of GMO food are going to get a bargain to offset the high price of gluten-free water. Well, one may hope at least. Now, all this falls into the realm of what's known as asymmetric information, which is something that used car salespeople understand all too well. It simply means that one party in a sale, usually the seller, of course, logically, knows more about the product than the other party, usually the buyer. Okay, caveat emptor, one may respond, and that's okay, that's fine, until you're the one who drives off the lot with a slick-looking late model Ford F-150 that actually has a salvage title and a rollback odometer. You don't want to be that guy. So, let the buyer beware is generally good advice, but only if that buyer has at least a fair chance to understand what he or she is actually buying. Sadly, I think food labeling, which began in the 1970s to clarify what's in the stuff we eat, has mutated into just another marketing scheme to obfuscate the truth behind the label. And I think it's a sad state of affairs, but like anything and everything in this increasingly convoluted, complex, and confusing little world of ours, some research and critical thinking can do wonders to help you really understand the true quality or lack thereof in your food choices. And that's really the takeaway for any of this, is to do your own research and learn a little bit about what the reality of food choices are. I mean, you can you can say that you believe that GMO foods are unhealthful and you don't want to buy GMO foods. That's your right, of course. But I mean, if we're going to insist that's mandated by the government, we should try to understand a little bit more about what the science behind it really is. And we have to trust science. I mean, there's certainly a movement afoot to not trust science these days in a lot of parts of the society. I think it's dangerous. So do your own research, trust scientists that have been in the field for many years and make your decisions for yourself based on your own critical thinking skills.